Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I, 20 female, have been born with the gift of being academically talented, not to brag or anything, but it is necessary to know to understand the story. My dad remarried 2 years after the nasty divorce with my mom, to his girlfriend of 8 months. He is happy and I would have been super happy for him as well if it wasn't for the new siblings she was bringing along with her. I now have a stepsister, Laura, 20 female. After being an only child my whole life, I don't know how to feel as all of this is new to me. But the fact that we are the same age just makes everything even more difficult. Being in the same grade as her is not something I'm looking forward to, so I worked extra hard on getting into my dream university, so that I won't have to live in the state or anywhere near her. I try to get to know her and become friends, but she has been nothing but cold and mean towards me. When it came time to submit college applications, I applied for quite a few and luckily got into the one I was looking forward to most. I asked Laura how her applications were going and if she heard back from any yet. She gave me the meanest look ever and stormed right to her mom and my dad, telling them I was bragging to her about getting into my dream college, while she got nothing but rejections. I tried explaining that she was lying and that I didn't even know she did not get into any college, but my stepmom was not listening to a single word I said and told me it was better off if I left for university early so Laura could focus on getting into college. My dad gave me a hopeless shrug and I understood that him saying anything would turn into a huge fight and cause a fuss about nothing, so I gave him a slight smile and went on to pack my stuff. Whilst packing, I couldn't let go of the thought that my stepmom would have made an issue about my college tuition fee as well if it weren't for my scholarship. Another reason for me to do the best I possibly can in college and focus so I don't lose my scholarship. Once I finally got to college and set up my dorm, I was the happiest I had been in a long time. I loved the new fresh start away from my stepsister. I went home on the holidays and spent the rest of my days in my dorm, where I could study in peace. Laura did not get into any of the universities she wanted and had to attend community college, which she was upset about. A year in, Laura came to visit. She said she had a break from college and wanted to spend some time with me, which I thought was weird, but she seemed genuine, so I let her stay with me for 2 nights. The day Laura had to leave, she left early in the morning and was super rushed, but I didn't think much of it and let her leave. A couple of hours later, I was called into the dean's office and was told I had been caught spray painting over an area of the main campus wall and that I had been caught on tape. You can imagine the confusion when I learned that. I was quite literally speechless. They showed me the tape and lo and behold, it shows a girl of my height wearing my hoodie, my trousers and my shoes, with her hood up covering her face, spray painting some explicit graffiti onto the campus wall. At 2 a.m. I looked at the dean, the principal and my professor staring at me, waiting for an explanation, which I couldn't give them except for, I swear it wasn't me. My dorm mate was called down and she looked just as confused as I was. She explained to everyone that I went to sleep early that night because I had to wake up early to revise for a test. That's when it hit me. My sister was up all night that night, and it all now made sense. I explained to them, but I had no proof, so I had to take the 10-day suspension and head home. Luckily, my perfect grades and attendance saved me from being expelled. I went home and immediately told my dad everything. He believed me immediately but said there wasn't much he could do since we had no proof and my stepmom and stepsister would plainly deny all accusations. So I stayed quiet and let my dad try and explain to my stepmom what happened. She wouldn't listen to a word of it and called me a liar and manipulator. I spent the 10 days in my room as quiet and non-existent as can be and awaited the end of my suspension. Once uni started again, I tried to forget about the stunt she pulled expecting to get me expelled, but I just couldn't. Forwarding to present time, Laura is now 2 years into community college and has decided she no longer wants to continue college in the state and wants to continue in a different college out of state. So she asks my dad to help fund her tuition fees. My dad, still upset about what Laura did at my university, denied funding her college fee and told her that if she wishes to change college, she has to do it on her own and that he will not help in any way. My stepmom fought with him about it, but my dad finally stood his ground and took a stand on my behalf. That's when I got a call from Laura, who I had completely cut off, demanding money for her college because it was my fault. My dad had cut her off financially. I loved how desperate she sounded and how she had no way out of community college, so I denied it. She completely lost it, and it made me laugh that she couldn't do anything but yell. I cut the call and continued to ignore her calls and texts. I called my dad thanking him for taking a stand. My stepmom, however, has been calling me like crazy, telling me I'm heartless and selfish for not helping Laura. Laura's aunts and uncles have also been blowing up my phone with texts and calls, calling me a self-centered, spoiled brat who will never get anywhere in life with an attitude this crooked. Is it wrong that I still don't feel guilty one bit? Update. Laura and my stepmom hate my guts. Every time I visit home for the holidays, they pass cold comments and tease and taunt me, but I honestly couldn't care less. My dad and I have been closer than ever, and that's all that matters. You shouldn't feel guilty one bit, OP. Laura got what she deserved, and honestly, you didn't even do much. If she had confessed and apologized for trying to get you expelled, I'm sure your dad would have considered funding her college, but she didn't. This is all on her and her mother, who continues to encourage her bad behavior. I'm glad your dad finally stood up for you. Don't let Laura get close to you at all and ignore her family. They'll shut up soon enough. Story 2. My boyfriend and I moved in together about 3 months ago. Recently, we got a joint account for grocery shopping. The plan is that we both put in $210, so we have $420 for the entire month. This weekend, we are having a movie marathon at my brother and sister-in-law's, and I baked a cake, some buns, and bought some snacks. We were running low on some staple things such as eggs, milk, and flour, so I bought this as well. I also bought some spring rolls for an easy dinner, as well as a big bag of dates that will last forever and be used for lots of stuff. It all came to around $70. Today, while I was with my brothers and my boyfriend hadn't arrived yet because he didn't feel like watching 4 movies in a row, my boyfriend wrote me a message with just my name, nothing else. He normally never uses my real name unless I've done something real bad. So my heart instantly started beating faster and I felt kind of sick. He then asked, "What have you spent $70 on?" And I explained that I had bought stuff for the weekend as well as some staple stuff. My brother and sister-in-law are providing food as well as snacks and soda. He was going on about it being a lot of money and that he didn't understand how I was even able to spend this much. I explained to him that the prices are crazy right now, and that just the milk, eggs, flour, and butter had been $14. He then wrote that he felt I was being rude or flippant. Not sure how to explain it in English, but in its essence, a kind of rude word that means that I'm not respecting him, which I did not feel applied to my behavior whatsoever. I honestly felt like it was the complete opposite. I'm now left with an awful feeling. My parents have always had a dynamic where my dad got mad at my mom when she spent money. I don't want this dynamic in my relationship, and now I'm kind of afraid that we will end up like that. I realize that $70 is a lot of money, but that's honestly the times we're living in, at least where we live. Am I the a-hole for spending the money? Edit. I feel like I have to add that only about $30 was money spent on the weekend. The rest was for dinner and other necessities. It's a movie weekend that my boyfriend is also part of. I paid with our joint account as it was our share for the weekend. Not the a-hole, OP, and you should be concerned at his response to this situation. It's totally one thing for him to ask you about the money and voice his concern about the cost. Entirely another thing to have made you feel like you did something wrong. Unless you had that money earmarked specifically, this seems like a normal expense to have made. Anger is not a healthy way to discuss issues, especially new issues that haven't happened before. I would take this as a red flag that he may not be the right person if you're trying to stay away from your parents' dynamic. Now for some comments. You're not the a-hole for spending the money. Your boyfriend is being a terrible a-hole in the way he treats you. Even if you had spent the money on items he doesn't approve of, He shouldn't treat you like a naughty child. You are supposed to be partners. If he is annoyed, he needs to talk to you like an adult. He needs to respect you. I think it is totally fine to think your partner may have overspent, but the way the boyfriend approached this is horrible. And an a-hole move. Just have an in-person discussion later and ask what she used the 74 and OP can list what she bought and all good then. He can still voice his disagreement if he felt it was too much, and they can find a common group like adults should. Not the a-hole, you need to get out of this relationship ASAP. Your parents' relationship may have distorted your sense of norm, but I don't want to see you in an emotionally abusive relationship. Your heart starts pounding when you see his text. Bad sign. He has a category of things you do that he thinks are really bad. Nothing you do is really bad. He's fooled you into that. He's nitpicking your spending. Story 3. I was at my nephew's birthday party, chatting with his grandmother on the other side. The birthday cake was on the table with the shape of a football matching in icing, frosting on the top. We were looking at it and she asked me, "Do you ever bake cakes?" And I said, "No, but my husband tries sometimes." It was one of those weird times where the conversation in a room drops out for a second and everyone hears it. There was a bit of a weird pause and my younger sister said, "Wow, you don't have to be so mean about it." I was a bit embarrassed, but I moved on from there. I looked for my sister after a few minutes and found her outside talking to my husband, who was watching our youngest on the bouncy castle during the whole time. I lost my temper a bit and told her off for being a tattletale, because she always loves to talk shit about me to my husband, and probably made it sound worse than it was. She stormed off and we kept away from each other after. After the party, we were driving the kids home. He was very quiet, so I asked him if it was about the cake thing. He said it was a little hurtful. I could have just said he bakes cakes, and the word tries implies that he doesn't succeed. And how would I feel if he said to people that I try to sing? I told him it wasn't fair. He wasn't there. The whole room wasn't supposed to hear. And it was just a throwaway line my sister blew out of proportion to make me look bad. Also, I have been singing in the choir twice a week for the last 20 years. He only bakes and decorates cakes every now and then, and half the time he lets the kids help him, and it looks terrible. My mom and other sister are taking my younger sister's side, saying it was rude. My dad doesn't care. I think my husband is still mad because he's being very quiet. He goes quiet when he's mad or sad. I told him he needs to get over it, and he smiled and said, "I'll try." So I told him he was being an a-hole. Edit. I realize I'm definitely the a-hole. My husband asked me what I was so frantically writing. I showed him this. He is a combination horrified and amused. We've decided tomorrow to finally contact a couples counselor to work on some issues. Thank you to everyone who took the time to comment, hard as they were for us to read, especially Illogical 101. But if you'll excuse me, I'm going to shred this account and figuratively curl into a ball of shame. Now for some comments. You're the a-hole. Your husband is right. Saying he tries makes it sound like he isn't succeeding. You need to stop trying to defend yourself, accept you screwed up and apologize. Your sister tattling to your husband is a separate issue. You're the a-hole because you didn't apologize and explain either right away to the people who heard you, "Oops, that came out wrong. I didn't mean that he's bad at it. I meant that he doesn't do it as often as he would like because he's busy. And the football cake looks really amazing." Or to him, "I'm so sorry, I wasn't thinking when I said that. And as soon as I saw how people were responding, I should have walked it back. I really didn't mean to be making fun of you. I love your cakes and the kids do too." When your first comment is to defend yourself rather than to apologize to the person who was hurt, you're the a-hole. You're the a-hole, and I think you knew that when you were typing this out, to be totally honest. The moment he said, "It was a little hurtful," you don't get to say anything or defend yourself. What you said hurt him, end of story. Saying not everyone was supposed to hear it is a very, "I knew it was mean" cover line, don't you think? If it wasn't meant for everyone to hear because you knew it was rude out of pocket to say, then it was intended to be hurtful gossip or a jape, in which only you thought was funny. The moment someone tells you something you said or did hurt them, you don't get to tell them they're blowing it out of proportion, period. You apologize for your words and actions, not try and justify doing it.